In this short video, we're going to look at a few examples of factoring by using trial and error. For the first example, we're going to try to factor 2x squared plus x minus 6. When you're trying to factor by trial and error, you're really just trying to unfoil. You're trying to figure out what were the two binomials that we multiplied together that gave us the 2x squared plus x minus 6. Now we know that whatever's in that first spot has to multiply to be 2x squared, and whatever goes in the last spot in each has to multiply to be the 6. So what we need to do is we need to look at the possible factors of 2. That would be 1 times 2. That's it. But 6, we have a couple of pairs of factors. 1 times 6 would be 6, and 2 times 3 would be 6. So we have a couple of options there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting a 2x and an x in the first spots in the parentheses. All right, next I'm going to try, say, 1 and 6 and see if that works. What I mean by that is I'm going to see if by putting in a 1 and a 6, there is a way for me to come up with this middle term. See, I know the 1 times 6 gives me the 6, but I need to figure out how to make that x happen in the middle. So if I put the numbers in this way, when I multiply the inside 2, I get a 1x. When I multiply the outside 2, I get 12x. And there's no way to get a 1x and a 12x to turn out to be the 1x there in the middle. So that tells me this does not work and I need to try something else. So let me erase the 1 and the 6 and let me try something else. All right. So 1 and 6 didn't work, and switching it around wouldn't work either, would it? If I put the 6 here and the 1 there, I would have a 6x and a 2x, and there's no combination of those two added up that would wind up giving me 1x either. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to try the 2 and the 3. Now don't think that this is always a lengthy process. The more practice you get, the better you are at figuring out the best things to try. So I'm going to go ahead and try the 3 and the 2. If I put them in like that, I get a 3x for the inside two terms, and when I take 2x times the 2, I get 4x. And a 3x and a 4x, I can put positives and negatives on these and wind up with a 1x that I need in the middle. I would need the 3 to be negative and the 4 to be positive. So I would need the 3 to be negative, and in front of this 2, I'm going to need a positive. And then you notice that the negative 3 and the positive 2 does give me the negative 6 that I need. So I found it. That's it. This is the factored form of 2x squared plus x minus 6. Let's try another one. All right, let's say we're trying to factor 9x squared minus 4. All right, I know I sometimes got that by multiplying two binomials, that type of thing. So that's what I'm thinking. I want to try to figure out what those binomials were that gave me 9x squared minus 4. Whatever's in the first spot is supposed to be 9x squared. Whatever's at the end is supposed to be 4. So I know 9 can be either 1 times 9 or 3 times 3. And the 4 can be either 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. I'm noticing those special factors, the 3 and 3 and the 2 and the 2. Those are the ones I'm going to try. I'm going to put in a 3x in the first spot in each parenthesis and a 2 in the second spot in each parenthesis. All right, so that would give me a 6x when I multiply the inside 2, and another 6x when I multiply the outside 2. And you notice in our original expression we didn't have an x. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make one of these positive and one of these negative so that it cancels out and adds up to be 0x. So there will be no x there in the middle. Doesn't matter which one you really make positive. And then notice that positive 2 times that negative 2 gives us the negative 4 we needed at the end. So we found it. This is the answer. We factored 9x squared minus 4. Okay. Let's try another one. What about x squared minus 2x minus 15? We're trying to find the two binomials we would have multiplied to make that happen. Whatever goes in the first spot has to be x squared. Whatever goes in the second spots has to wind up giving us the 15. So there's nothing in front of the x squared except for a 1. And the only thing that multiplies to be 1 would be 1 and 1. So I just need to use an x and an x in the first spot in each of those. But now the factors of 15 would be a 1 and a 15, or a 3 times a 5. Now, notice I'm trying to make a 2 happen in the middle. I'm thinking the 3 and the 5 might be a good thing to try. Because then when I multiply the inside 2, I get 3x. When I multiply the outside 2, I get 5x. And there's a way for me to put positives and negatives on these and get negative 2x in the middle. I would need the larger one to be negative. So I need the 3 to be positive and the 5 to be negative, I think. And then I need to double check that that positive 3 and that negative 5 gives me the negative I need right here. And it does. Everything else I already knew worked. So this should be it. I found it. A lot of times when you factor, it's going to be that quick. You're not going to have to do a whole bunch of tries. All right, one more. Let's look at 9x squared plus 6x plus 1. I want to find out what two binomials would multiply to be that. Whatever's in the first spot has to be 9x squared. Whatever's in the second spot has to multiply to be 1. You know, I think I'm going to get this one pretty quick because 9 is special. It's a perfect square. And 1 is special. It's a perfect square. So my first try is going to be 3x, 3x, 1, and 1. And when you look at the middle term, 1 times 3x would be 3x, and the outside 2 turn out to be 3x as well. And if I make them both positive, I'm going to get the 6x that I need in the middle. And then notice the positive times the positive gives me a positive 1. I already knew everything else worked, so this is my answer. Okay. Now this is sometimes written as 3x plus 1 in parentheses squared. Okay. Now you need to practice.